Everyone, it's been a while. As usual, I'm working and I've had a few days off. Uh, and I thought I'd catch up with another tutorial. And we're going to continue with our muscles and our studying of anatomy from, I think last time it was the neck, possibly, but we're moving down from the head towards the arms. And the next thing we're going to cover is the deltoids. So let me just type that in. And this covers three muscles. It's made up of three muscles. If you notice this cursor, hopefully it's easy for you to see. I've had one of our kind subscribers mention that it's hard to see the cursor when I'm drawing over another image. So hopefully this is a bit easier for you to recognize where the cursor's going. I might have to invest in another program that makes it easier to see the cursor, but for now, let's just work with what we've got here. So, yeah, deltoids. Let's look at what we can explore here with a gesture of the rib cage. Okay, the head would sit around here. I'm looking at it 3/4 now. We've got our uh, collarbones, clavicles that come out from the neck down here. And we've got our scapula that sit on that rib cage. So we know that underneath that acromion process of the scapula, we've got our humerus, and I think we've worked on the triceps and biceps, but what cover those muscles also are the deltoids. So I'll just introduce them in a different color here. So the deltoids, at the middle of the humerus, there's a tuberosity, it's called, and it's towards the front of the bone, that humerus bone. And this is where the three deltoids will meet that tuberosity halfway down that humerus. So that's the front deltoid, okay? And that is connected to the last third of this clavicle. Okay, so you've got your clavicle and that final third. So you say that's the 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. That final third we've got here connects to that tubercle. Okay, now in another color, let's say I've got this green. It's a bit difficult to see, but I'll make it a bit darker. It'll be the side deltoid, okay? So that side delt covers, it's quite large. It covers that acromion process and again meets that tubercle down here. We can't really see much of the rear deltoid, but say we've got our just quickly, I wish there was an easier way to come up with this palette. If anyone knows, let me know. So we've got the scapula, and we're looking at this rear right scapula. Okay, there's a spine of the scapula. The rear delt, okay, we'll draw the humerus coming down as well. And the tubercle is on the front, halfway down. So it'll be around the front of the humerus. Now, this rear delt, I'll do in blue. It comes from the beneath that spine and will meet that tubercle at the front. You'll also see Where's this eyedropper? Okay. You'll also see a bit of this side delt that's covering that chromium process and going to the front tubercle that we pointed out down there. You wouldn't really see too much of the front delt since we're looking at the back. So hopefully that's a good introduction. It's if I'm looking at this all from, say, the side, I'll draw it in here. Let me erase this. Okay, so from the side, why is that like that? Oh, okay. Just when I thought I was getting good at Clip Studio. Okay, so you've got that side delt and the rear delt and the front delt. And this is your humerus. We're looking from the side, okay? And these fibers sort of connect in the side delt like this. And you might see some striations on very fit or skinny people. Okay, and all of them, the tubercle should be around the front. See, this is the front and back. And the tubercle is around the front side, so it's not directly on the side like I've shown there. And the back delt would come around to meet that tubercle also. Okay, so hopefully that makes a bit of sense, but it will make much more sense when I go through some of these examples I've got. Let me erase this canvas here, and we'll start with this example here. Very old style medical anatomy diagram. I'll focus on this right side here. You can see. So let me put in the rib cage. Uh, Neck, head. Right, these are the traps. We learned about that a while back. Now, I'm going to superimpose a red color over what we've got here. So I'm going to, handy thing, always look for landmarks that can sort of assist you. So there's a little bump there where the acromion process has come out of. And I'll see the base of this scapula here, the other end of the scapula up here, and there'd be a spine of the scapula like that. Not to confuse you, I'll erase these little bits. Now, if I was to draw the humerus as well, would be going down like that. You can see the edges of the humerus at the bottom. The tubercle would be around the front. So, what I've also failed to mention was the rear delt. See the spine, how it's like so. The rear delt sort of only becomes visible halfway through that. It actually connects from the whole spine, I think, but you can make out the actual muscle here covering the triceps and going towards the front of that humerus. Do you see? And this is the rest of that rear delt. Now you can also see the side delt from this acromion process. And remember how it's got that little divot, and that's going to come around the front also. The divot was this area here. It's sort of made by the bump of the humerus, but I also think It's because of those striations on the side that we showed you before, the side of the side delt, how it was made up of fibers that sort of crisscross like this. Okay, so again, from the side, they kind of cross over like so. And that's this bump you see here. Okay, so I'll draw it from scratch on our gesture we've got on the side. So I'll draw the clavicle, sorry, the scapula, the spine there. It's got the AC. I'm not really looking at this. I'm just drawing it from memory. Okay. We've got the humerus coming out here. And remember, towards the front, the tubercle. Our muscles that we're focusing on, the delts, rear delt, it's got ligaments, and then the muscle, which is clearly visible, and it's going to go towards the front of the humerus. Now the side delt will come around the front also. And that's your delts from the rear. Okay, let's go through another example. I'll erase this. Okay. Okay, so this is a really good example. I think I'm showing this image from Da Vinci's sketchbook a million times, but we'll go through these deltoid muscles. So I'll start with the left here. So you've got the you've got the clavicle coming around like this. Of course, it's very foreshortened because we're seeing it from directly from the side. Here's a hint at the scapula, the spine of the scapula, and it should have this acromion process on top. The clavicle will be at the front of the process, I believe. Now, the first, well, a third of this clavicle will be the front delt. And you can't see too much of it. You see how much coverage this side delt takes around that AC area, and will veer towards the front. You got the rear delt coming towards the front also. Now, these are the striations I was talking about, how they sort of crisscross over each other. And you can see these fibers or the muscle trending towards the front of that humerus bone. Okay. So if that's a humerus bone, it's biased towards the front. Okay. This is kind of similar. We'll have a look at this angle here. The clavicle. Yep, that's easier to see enough. Now, this is the acromion process from the scapula at the back. Now, we've got I believe that's the front delt. This will be the side delt. And that's inserting down towards the front tubercle of the humerus. Can't see much of that rear delt at all. And here is a good example that I see. The clavicle. It looks like the clavicle meets like so. So next to it is the AC. And then here is our side delt. You can clearly see that. And that's coming from the front clavicle. And all this is the real estate of the side delt. Okay. Now later on, when we start to look at the chest muscles, you'll have like a chest muscle going here on sort of all this area here and here. Now this is all chest muscle. This is the front delt, and you'll notice even on yourself, you've got a sort of hollow there, which doesn't have any muscle at all. So just remember that will separate your side delts from your pectoral muscles, okay? Let's continue on. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. It's funny with anatomy. It's kind of, well, confusing in the beginning, but as you practice these, and I'd encourage you to keep looking, watch this video again if things don't make sense. And also watch other videos, as much as you can, to get this, the idea of these muscles across to you. Now, let's do what we just did before. Let's look for some, let's call it, I don't know, breadcrumbs. We're trying to find out our way through, navigate our way through this mass, land mass, which is the body. Okay, so I can see, you can sort of see the, oh, this is the ligaments coming from the spine of the scapula. Okay, here is our full scapula. Let's look at this scapula. It would, it looks like so. It would look like that. Okay. Now, here's our rear delt. And if this continued on, it would be making this sort of motion, this rear delt. It'd be going towards the front. Now, here's our the chromium process of the scapula. And remember that side delt, which surrounds that AC joint. Okay. That was easy enough. I don't want to keep you too long. So hopefully that one makes sense. All right. Now this is an example without the muscles. So I'll start with the, let me change the color, make it a bit brighter. So the rear delt, let's say the humerus ends about here, okay? You've got your elbow. Midway through, on the front of the humerus, the tubercle, okay? So that rear delt, the rear delt come under that spine, come out from under that spine, and venture towards the front. This area is the AC. Okay, so if you have a look, sort of a squarish shape. So that's where the side delt surrounds that AC, and you've got that side delt there. Let's do it from this side. If we continue, say this humerus is like so. We've got the spine looking and ribboning its way through to the front. I don't even know if ribboning is a word, but you understand what I mean. The AC would be here. and our delt would it'd sort of bulge because it's compressing. His arm is going up, so you'd have a bulge there, and it would fit into the front of the humerus like that, and also um, the like neighbors with that rear delt, and you don't really see much of the front delt there. Okay, so just remember an important lesson is y- if you look in the mirror, you can see what's compressing, what's not. This arm's straight, so of course this side delt is flat. This arm is compressing all this massive deltoid, so this area I would say would start to really bulge. Okay, now um, another couple examples, another few examples. Why not? Um, okay, similarly, we did that at the back. Now let's try the front. This is part of the pectoral muscle. Now the last, if we've got one, two, three thirds of that clavicle, this third on the outside would go towards meeting the front of the humerus. You can see this area here is the AC, and that would be covered by the side delt. Okay. And the delts are quite huge. So if that's your humerus, the delts reach halfway down. So it takes up a lot of real estate. Okay. So don't be shy and make them too small. Like I've seen people make them like just little balls on top, like that. They're huge. So emphasize the size of these delts because their job is quite important. Um, okay, I'll erase this. Um, okay, now from actual drawings and paintings, let's have a look. What can we identify here? We've got this hulking mass of a back. It's a really good gesture. Okay, I'm feeling out that rib cage. See that spine, and who's looking down. He's burdened by the huge rock he's got to carry. That's the lats. And I'll just put in a gesture for his arm. Now, if you were to add on to this figure, you've got the chromium process, and I'd say you can sort of see an outline of the scapula. And where is it? I see a hint down here, if you can see the cursor. And we know that halfway along the spine of that scapula comes out the rear delt. So let's, and remember, use your these as purely as reference. Try not to copy so much, especially if you want to invent figures. So halfway along that, we've got our rear delt going towards the front. Okay. We've got our side delt covering that AC. Okay. You also see bit of the if I have the elbow joint here, we've got our tricep and the other tricep. And you can see the shadow there and ligament. Okay, so I've tried to hint that tricep. So I'm starting to introduce other elements. Okay, now I'll just put a form guide for this. The delts that we're looking at. Okay, and we can't really see the front delt or it's all covered by this huge trapezius. Remember the trapezius from the other videos. Okay. Um, let's see what we go. Oh, whoops, did that. Delete. I've got two more examples. Don't worry, I'm not going to keep you too long on it. I always hate long videos, but it's hard to get these points across in like a 1 minute clip. You know, those YouTube shorts. Now, this is Michelangelo, as always. Great to study from. What can we see here? So, it's all this mass, as we know, there's like a divot, and that's where the acromion process is. And the acromion process is, of course, part of the scapula, and it's angled that way because he's moving his, or she's moving her left arm forward. If it was back, then the acromion process would be here, and it will be sort of rested like that. The scapula would be. Now, it would sort of look like that. Now, the spine of the scapula, and it's got the rear delt and the side delt coming from the AC. Okay. Now, maybe I've got it wrong, but it seems right to me. Okay, so this side delt is really covering a lot of that rear delt. Okay. And then another example down here is the front of the body. Okay, so which one shall we have a look at? Let's take a look at, oh, sorry, there's the cursor there, this side. So instead of superimposing, I'll just go straight for it here. We sort of hunched in. Okay. Whole of the rib cage, back of the neck coming up, and then the front of the neck. There's the chin. Okay. Now this, it appears that this clavicle's up a bit and this one's a little bit down. And these little bits are the AC joints. Okay. And you could able to see through, you'd see the top of the scapulas like that. But we've got the trap covering that. Okay. Remember also from the back of the neck, we've got these muscles, the sternocleidomastoids. Okay. And sort of giving it some volume to this gestural skeleton thing. Here you can see the trap is a bit more, got more body to it, to the muscly man. Okay, so I'll draw the gesture of the arms and say this was okay, that's his belly. Let's say that ends around here. I like the elbows usually meet if you swung out, it meet the belly area, the belly button. So put it around here, the elbows, the mid part of the arm. Okay, clean that up. Now let's work on the front. To recall on the front portion, remember a third of this clavicle is front deltoid, the side deltoid, and you can't really see the rear delt. They've got some more volume to the arm because of the biceps, but I've put it in. This is my version of what I've got over here. Okay, now this arm, very close to his, a bit closer to his body, tubercle halfway down front of the humerus. Now you can see this is the hollow I was talking about before, and this would be the delt, the front delt coming down here like so. Side delt around that chromium process and coming down towards the front of the humerus. And these would be the form lines. Oops. And try to start getting into the habit of putting form lines out in and out. It'll help you when you're doing shadows and just gives you that dimensionality to it, to your drawing. Okay, so that's the front delts. I think that's it for now. I believe it is, but maybe I did rush it through it, but hopefully not. And hopefully you understand. It's been about half an hour of this. But if you have any questions or anything didn't make sense, just leave me a comment. Um, so we've done the biceps and triceps, now the delts. We've done the neck muscles and traps. I think next time we'll work on muscles that come out of the scapula, and I think they connect to the armpit and the back of the humerus, I believe. But you've got these, yeah, so these scapular muscles, and then you've got your tricep, and then you've got the delts on top. So it's layer upon layer. So I'll get onto the bottommost layer, and then we could maybe do a refresher after all that, and then start to work on the pectorals. But we'll see how we go. And hopefully, like I keep saying on every video, hopefully it makes sense. I've been making 60-second videos, but I don't think you really learn much from them. These are the only way, well, this is the only way is to be pretty thorough with these anatomy muscles and then study them in your own time. And also, it's important to just doodle around on your own sketchbooks and invent figures. Don't just copy figures you see. Even if you see someone at the park and you're sitting and sketching, look at them, look away, try to remember what pose they had, draw it as a skeleton, and then try to fit some of these muscles on top. So with that, I'll leave it for now, and hopefully I've got enough time next week to take care of the scapular muscles, and we'll be really plugging through these. We've learned quite a lot as is, and you should be proud of that. And we will continue on, so you hopefully master everything later on down the track. And always, as always, keep practicing. And if there's any comments or feedback or constructive criticisms, I'm always open to it. So thanks for your time, and hopefully this keeps you busy for some time until the next video. Take care.